Good morning. Welcome to our Front Desk Associate Training. My name is Jen Shaw, and I will be the trainer today on how and why we treat our guests with great customer service portion of this course. Now, being a front desk agent already, I am sure that you have encountered many guest requests, complaints, and stories of your own. In these situations, you may not always feel certain of what decision is the right one, since there are so many different scenarios that can happen. For example, it is no secret that we have a beautiful mountain scenery here in Colorado. When I was a front desk agent myself, I had one guest come to the desk to check in, stating that him and his wife were here for their anniversary, so he wanted to make sure that he got the ocean view that he had booked, which, as we all know, we do not have. At first I thought he was kidding, but when there was no sign of even the slightest smile on his face, my expression quickly went from almost laughter to major confusion. So thinking maybe he just misspoke, I told him that he and his wife had a mountain view room for their anniversary. Oh, he turned back to look at me so quickly, face turning bright red, and I could see the spit about to fly from his mouth before he even started yelling. I can't tell you how many times he repeated himself, saying he knows he booked an ocean view, and he knows that it says so on his confirmation. Oh, he starts screaming out to his wife, who's barely through the front doors, telling her to bring the confirmation to the desk, which, of course, she could not find. And no matter how many times I tried to say that Colorado does not have an ocean, he still ranted on and on. So, not knowing what else to do, I stopped trying to convince him, finished checking them in, and politely sent them on their way. Now, this scenario in particular is a pretty rare one, but no matter how long you work in hospitality, someone will always throw you a curveball once in a while. Even though we may not be able to solve problems like finding an ocean in the Rockies, in this lesson, you will learn the proper way to treat each of our guests with excellent customer service while they stay at our hotel, as well as feel confident in solving guest issues professionally, even though we may feel like Professor McGonagall once in a while. Now, let's review the 10-5 rule that we have already learned.
What is the 10-5 rule? The 10-5 rule basically says that when you are within 10 feet of a person, you make eye contact with them to recognize that you see them and that you know they are there. The 5 part of this rule is that when you are within 5 feet of a person, that you interact with them in some way. You might ask, why do we do this? Well, this is the way you would generally want to treat somebody that you know or your family member, and it's just good courtesy.
All right. 10-5 rule is a great hospitality technique and should be used with all of our guests that walk through the doors. All right, moving on to how we treat all of our guests. Every guest is acknowledged and made feel welcome always. They must be greeted within 30 seconds of entering the lobby, which goes along with the 10-5 rule. Guest names will be used during arrival and in any conversation for a more personal feel. Team members are polite, professional, and personable. If a guest is waiting in line for any amount of time, he or she should be thanked for their patience. Invite guests to contact you if additional needs arise. Always open and hold doors for guests when needed. And welcome, recognize, and thank our guests. Now let's quickly go over a little phone etiquette. Phones should be answered within 3 rings. Greetings are appropriate to the time of day, such as good morning, good afternoon, and good night. Provide your name to the caller. Team members' voice should be clear and pleasant with a positive attitude. When transferring guest calls to another department, use the phrase, "It's my pleasure to connect you." Dealing with guest conflict can be a lot more difficult. When a problem does arise, you can use these tips and practices as your base. When providing information, listen carefully, respond with appropriate action, and follow up as needed. Team members should listen, empathize, apologize, provide a solution, and then follow up with the guest to determine satisfaction when problems do arise. You want to try to discuss complaints discreetly, so if you can pull them away from the desk and away from other guests, it is preferred. That's not always possible. And for more serious complaints, team members should deliver a handwritten note to the guest's room. Now here is a problem resolution cheat sheet that I have put together for you. It's just good ideas of if you need a service recovery and don't really know what to do for the guest. This is a good reference point for you. So there's 3 different categories. If it's a small, medium, or large issue. If it's a small recovery, you could give them a free coffee, a free in-room movie, maybe a candy bar or some chocolates, or if they prefer, a late checkout. A medium recovery, you could do a free glass of wine at the bar, maybe a free entree in the restaurant, a gift basket that you can send up to their room, or $25 off whatever their room rent may be. And then for a large recovery, something more like dinner for 2 in the restaurant, you could upgrade them to a premium room, or if you choose, you can combine 2 or 3 of the small or medium resolutions or recoveries. Let's do some role playing. Mr. Jones has arrived at the hotel late, around 11 p.m., and expresses how tired he is from his long day of traveling. Mr. Jones is a business traveler with Hewlett-Packard, and you know this usually means his company set up the reservation for him, and he will not have a confirmation number. However, after searching for his name, you are not able to find his reservation. Mr. Jones starts to get frustrated with you about not finding the reservation and just wants to get up to his room. Walk us through the check-in process from the beginning and how you might handle this guest's frustration. So I greet the guest. This is just an example answer. I greet the guest as he enters the lobby with a smile and welcoming greeting. Good evening, sir. Welcome to our hotel. Did you have a pleasant trip in? I then ask politely for his last name, and when I find he does not have a reservation, I will do a search over multiple days for his name in case it was done incorrectly, since I already know he most likely did not make it himself. If I still do not find it, I explain that it is not in the system. However, we do still have rooms available, and I can quickly make another reservation for him. As I am doing this, I try to continue genuine conversation in hopes to still create a positive experience for him. I check in the guest as swiftly as possible to get him up to his room and ask if there is anything else that I can do to make his stay more enjoyable. If the guest is still upset, I choose to send a handwritten note with some chocolates to his room. Here is our second role-playing scenario. This time, you have just checked in a family of 5. Mom, Dad, 2 sons, and 1 daughter. The encounter was very pleasant, and you have already sent them happily up to their room. But only minutes later, the dad comes marching back down to the front desk. He states that their room smells horribly of cigarette smoke. Him and his wife are very upset. Explain how you might handle this situation. The first thing I would do is apologize to the guest and make sure that he knows I am empathetic and willing to help. I would offer to change them to a new upgraded room. If the guest decides that this is a good option, I will offer to help them move their luggage and take them to their new room. If the guest decides that his whole family is already settled in and it would be a huge inconvenience to move their kids, I would offer to send housekeeping with air freshener and an air purifier machine to help for the smoke smell. Later, I would send a handwritten apology note along with some milk and cookies for them to enjoy. Let's do one more. So upon departure of the hotel, a couple states that they got absolutely no sleep the night before. Apparently, the room they were in was between two rooms that were from a wedding party, and they were very loud until 3 o'clock in the morning. After hearing this from the couple at checkout, what do you choose to do? Since the guests obviously had an unpleasant stay with us, I would first apologize for the loud guests surrounding them. I would offer them a $50 off certificate for a future stay at our hotel so that we have another chance to give them a positive experience. And lastly, since they already said they had no sleep, I would offer to buy them a cup of coffee on their way out. Again, here is the problem resolution cheat sheet. It is wallet size, so it can fit in your pocket or whatever you feel, and you can reference it as many times as needed. Now let's watch a quick video on the right thing to say and when to say it.
Reservations? This
Yeah.
is Alicia.
I found a half-price room rate on an online travel site, but when I contacted the Denver property directly, they refused to match the rate. What kind of stupid policy is that?
Welcome. Checking in?
Welcome? Really? Welcome is free parking, not what you guys charge.
Good evening. How can I help you?
Get your supervisor.
Is something wrong?
Was I unclear? Get your supervisor. If you work in the hospitality or leisure industries, chances are you've heard people say some pretty interesting things. Sometimes odd things happen to ordinary people when they believe they're not getting what they deserve. Whatever the situation, if it is your job to help them, you're bound to be on the receiving end of some awkward comments, some difficult requests, and some just plain grumpy people. The truth is, there's not a lot you can do to stop it, but it's still part of your job to try to make things right. It's called customer service recovery.
Sitting here waiting. Everything has going on.
Guests are going to be who they want to be, and they're going to say what they want to say. The question is, when it happens to you, will you find the right words at the right time? Let's begin with some of the most common situations where a guest is frustrated by your service or your quality.
Hi, how's your food? Did we get your sandwich right?
No, not at all. I've just been sitting here waiting. Everything has too much salt on it. It's making me sick. No way. $62 in incidentals? I had a Diet Coke from the Honor Bar on the first night and nothing after that. $17.95? I watched 10 minutes of that stupid movie. I'm not paying this.
Hopefully you don't hear comments like these every day, but when you do, the trick in responding to them is to realize that for the guest, they are a unique problem that concerns them greatly. Instead of adding to their troubles, your words can begin to turn their frustration into understanding. The words you use will change with every situation, but the signals you send your customer should remain consistent. Now, there are 3 signals every customer needs from you. I care, I understand, and you can trust me to take care of this.
All right. That basically wraps it up. In conclusion, our focus is to treat every guest with kindness and professionalism. We want every person who walks in our hotel doors to feel welcome and know that if anything may go wrong, we will do everything in our power to make it right. And bonus, first person to submit a page that includes an example recovery item for a small, medium, and large recovery each wins a prize. So thank you for joining me in this presentation and training, and hopefully you found some helpful things that can help you along in your hospitality career.